Don't go inside. Go back to your car. Lock the doors. Don't ask me why. You'll know soon enough. She pressed my fallen keys back into my hand with fingers so cold it felt like touching marble. I almost dismissed her entirely. She was standing by the elevator in my apartment building lobby, small, heavyset, wrapped in a dark cardigan even though it was 70 degrees outside, her silver hair pinned back unevenly, like she'd done it in the dark. I had never seen her before. I'd lived here 2 years. I almost laughed. Instead, I said thank you for the keys and walked toward the elevator anyway. But I didn't press the button. I don't know what stopped me. Maybe it was the way she said it, not like a crazy person, not dramatic, not whispering like she was afraid of being heard. She said it the way you'd tell someone their shoelace was untied. Matter of fact, certain, like she was reminding me of something I already knew and had simply forgotten. My name is Rachel Donovan. I'm 31 years old. I'm a licensed CPA, which means I spend my days finding patterns in numbers that other people miss. I am not someone who takes warnings from strangers in lobbies. I believe in documentation, in verification, in things I can prove on paper. And yet, I turned around and walked back through the lobby, pushed through the glass door, and sat in my car in the parking garage. I felt absolutely ridiculous. I checked my phone. No missed calls from my husband Marcus. No texts. He was supposed to be at the gym until 7. It was 6:40. I sat there for 11 minutes, engine off, feeling like an idiot. Then the elevator opened. Marcus stepped out first. I could see him through the windshield. Through the lobby glass, he was still in his gym clothes. Gray shirt, dark joggers. He looked relaxed. He was smiling at something behind him. A woman followed him out of the elevator. She was carrying a bottle of wine. I know that parking garage. I know exactly where to sit, so the security camera above Bay C4 catches everything head-on. I had never once thought about that before. I thought about it then. I didn't move. I watched them cross the lobby together. Marcus used his key fob. I saw him gesture toward the hallway leading to our unit, the corner apartment, the one we'd picked together because of the natural light, the one where I'd painted the kitchen myself on a rainy Saturday 18 months ago. They disappeared down the hall. I counted to 60. Twice. Then I took the stairwell. Our building has an old layout. The hallway utility closet, the one the maintenance team never locks because the latch is broken and the property manager keeps saying he'll fix it, sits directly against the wall shared with our living room. The ventilation gap between them is wide enough that voices carry clearly. I discovered this by accident 8 months ago when I heard our neighbors arguing about their lease renewal as clearly as if I were sitting in their kitchen. Marcus didn't know I knew about that gap. I slipped into the utility closet without turning on the light. I stood between a mop and a shelf of cleaning supplies, and I pressed my back against the shared wall and I waited. It took about 4 minutes before I could hear them clearly. Her voice first. Low, amused. Asking if I ever came home early. Marcus laughed. He said I never came home early. He said I was at a client dinner until at least 9, that I'd texted him about it that morning. He said I was predictable like that. Reliable. The word came out of his mouth like it was a flaw. She said something I couldn't fully catch. Then he said, she trusts me completely. Always has. That's the whole thing. My jaw tightened. I stayed still. Then she asked about the timeline. Marcus's voice shifted. More focused. Less casual. He said the filing was almost ready. That once the joint property petition went through, the equity split would default in his favor because of how we'd structured the renovation loan 18 months ago, the loan I had co-signed, the loan I had managed, the loan I thought was in both our names equally. He said his attorney had found a clause. He said I wouldn't see it coming because I trusted him with the financial filings. I am a CPA. The specific wrongness of that hit me somewhere below my ribs. He had used what I did for a living against me. He had known enough to make it look routine. To hand me documents I would normally examine carefully and frame them in language that made scrutiny feel like distrust. I remembered the renovation paperwork. I remembered him saying the attorney had already reviewed everything, that it was standard, that he just needed my signature on 3 places before the notary appointment. I remembered signing. I pulled out my phone. I opened the voice memo app and pressed record. I held it against the wall. He kept talking. He was comfortable. People talk freely when they believe they're alone, when they believe the person they're deceiving is exactly where they put them. He'd put me at a client dinner across the city. He was confident in that. He said, "By the time she realizes the equity is gone, the divorce filing will already be 30 days in. At that point, it's just math." Just math. I almost made a sound. I pressed my lips together and breathed slowly through my nose, and I stayed in that closet in the dark and I let him keep talking. She asked about the account his mother had been asking about. He said his mother didn't need to know anything. He said it was handled. He said once the property settled, there was a secondary account she didn't know about, the one he'd been moving discretionary income into for 14 months, gradually, in amounts small enough to look like normal spending variation. As a CPA, I knew exactly what that was called. I knew exactly which federal forms would be relevant. Concealment of marital assets. I kept recording. At some point, they moved to the kitchen. I heard the wine being opened, glasses on the counter, the familiar sound of my own refrigerator. He had brought a woman into our home and opened our refrigerator and was pouring wine in my kitchen while explaining how he planned to financially dismantle my life. Here is the thing about being a numbers person. Emotion doesn't disappear. It just gets organized. What I felt in that closet was enormous, but it lined up into columns. Evidence, exposure, action, counteraction. I stayed until I heard them move toward the back of the apartment toward our bedroom, and then I slipped out of the utility closet and walked silently down the hallway and back through the stairwell door. I sat in my car and I did not cry. I pulled up my voice memo, confirmed the recording was clear, and airdropped it to myself 3 times to 3 different backup accounts. Marcus had once made fun of me for maintaining separate cloud storage under an email address he didn't know existed. He called it paranoid. I had smiled and not argued. I sat in the parking garage until 8:47 p.m. and I rebuilt everything. First, I thought about what he actually had access to. Joint checking, yes. The renovation loan account, yes. The shared investment account we'd opened 2 years ago, yes. What he didn't have access to, my solo CPA business account, which I'd always kept separate because commingling business and personal funds is the first mistake I warn every single client against. My independent savings account I'd had since I was 23. And the physical files, tax returns, loan origination documents, asset records for the past 4 years sitting in the fireproof lockbox in my office closet, to which only I had the combination. He had planned carefully. He just hadn't planned for someone who does this professionally. I made 4 calls from the parking garage. The first was to my personal attorney, not the one Marcus and I had used jointly for estate planning, a different one, a woman I'd met at a conference in Austin 2 years ago who specialized in high-asset divorce cases. I left a message marked urgent and texted her immediately after with 3 words, "Call me tonight." The second call was to my firm's forensic accounting contact. I'd referred clients to him before for fraud audits. I now needed him to start documenting 14 months of financial transfers in amounts designed to stay below reporting thresholds. He answered on the second ring. I told him what I needed. He said he could start by morning. The third call was to the bank. I requested an immediate account activity report and asked to have any outgoing transfers above $200 flagged for 24-hour review pending my verbal confirmation. The representative was confused. I was calm and specific. I quoted the account protection policy by section number. She processed the request. The fourth call I almost didn't make, but then I thought about 14 months of careful, quiet theft, and I made it. Marcus's mother, Diane, had always liked me. We had Sunday dinners at her house every few months. She had pulled me aside at our wedding reception and whispered that she was so glad he had found someone steady. At the time, I thought she meant it as a compliment about my personality. Sitting in that parking garage, I wondered if she had meant something else entirely. I wondered how much she knew. I wondered if she was the right person. I decided she was. I didn't call her that night. I waited. At 11:14 p.m., Marcus texted me asking how the client dinner was going. I replied immediately. Running long, the partner wants to review everything, might be another hour. He sent back a thumbs up emoji. The small normalcy of it, the casual deception in both directions made something in my chest go very quiet. I drove to my office. I let myself in with my keycard, and I spent 3 hours pulling physical documentation. The original renovation loan agreement, the one I now read with fresh eyes, and located exactly the clause his attorney had flagged, the one that would have given him preferential equity claim in a dissolution. I photographed every page. I also pulled our joint tax returns for the past 3 years. and cross-reference them against the account statements I could access digitally. The pattern in the discretionary spending took me about 40 minutes to isolate. 14 months, 31 transfers, each one between $180 and $240. Individually meaningless, together, a very clear picture. I documented everything in a format I knew would be readable in a legal proceeding. I got home at 2:30 a.m. Marcus was asleep. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom for a moment. He looked completely at rest, unconcerned. I thought about the woman with the wine bottle. I thought about the word reliable, leaving his mouth like an explanation for why it was safe to do this to me. I went to the guest room and slept 4 hours. My attorney called at 7:15 in the morning. I had already been awake for an hour. I walked her through everything, the recording, the documents, the forensic accounting I'd initiated. She was quiet for a moment after I finished. Then she said, "Rachel, you did more in one night than most clients take 6 months to pull together." She asked if I wanted to file immediately or wait. I told her I wanted to wait 72 hours. I had one more thing to do. She asked what. I told her I wanted to make sure Marcus tried to access the flagged accounts first. She understood. He tried at 9:43 a.m. I got the bank notification at 9:44. A transfer request for $4,000 to an account I didn't recognize. The flag held. The transfer didn't process. I could picture him looking at his phone, confused, trying again. I was sitting at my office desk when he called. I let it go to voicemail. He left a message that started casually, "Hey babe, weird thing with the account, probably just a glitch. Can you call the bank?" and ended slightly less casually. His voice had that particular tightness that I had heard before, when a client realizes an audit is happening and has only just understood that smiling and being cooperative is no longer a functional strategy. I called the bank. I confirmed the flag. I told them to extend it indefinitely, pending a legal review I would be initiating. Then I called my attorney back and told her we could file now. I sent Marcus a text at 11:02 a.m. "Can you come home for lunch? I need to talk to you about something." He was there by 12:15. When I opened the door, he was already in explanation mode. The account thing was a banking error. He'd already called and they were fixing it. He was sorry I was bothered with it. He walked past me into the kitchen with the energy of a man who has already written the narrative and simply needs to deliver it convincingly. I said, "Sit down, Marcus." Something in my tone stopped him. He looked at me for the first time since walking in. Really looked. I watched him recalibrate. I put my phone on the kitchen table, face up, voice memo cued. I said, "I want you to listen to something." He heard his own voice for about 45 seconds before he reached for the phone. I picked it up first. He said it was taken out of context. He said I'd misunderstood. He said the account situation was complicated, and he'd been meaning to talk to me about it, but things had been stressful, and I hadn't seemed open to financial conversations lately. I let him talk. When he stopped, I laid out 4 sheets of paper on the kitchen table. The loan clause, the transfer records, the forensic accounting summary, just the first page, itemized, and the name and contact information for my attorney, with the date of our initial filing stamped at the top. His face did something complicated. He said, "You went to an attorney?" I said, "Yesterday." He went very still. I told him clearly, and without any particular emotion, that the account freezes were already in place, that the forensic review was active, that the loan document had been reviewed by 2 independent attorneys who both flagged the clause as potentially structured for fraudulent intent, and that the recording had been listened to by my legal team and assessed for admissibility. He said I was destroying our marriage. I said, "You did that. I'm just documenting it." He tried 3 more things. He tried anger. He tried softness, a version of the voice he used when he wanted me to feel guilty for doubting him. He tried logic, which was almost impressive given the circumstances. None of it landed. I had spent 14 years doing forensic work on financial documents. I knew what a losing position looked like when someone was still arguing from inside it. He left without slamming the door. I noticed that. Some part of him still understood that dramatic exits were a bad look when there was already a legal record being built. I changed the locks that afternoon. I want to be precise about that because I've learned that people always ask. Yes, I changed them the same day. I had a locksmith there by 3 p.m. I also began the process of formally separating the joint accounts, removed him from my emergency contact designations, and sent a calm, factual email to his employer's HR department noting that a personal legal matter was underway and requesting that any communications regarding shared benefits enrollment be routed through my attorney. That last one was my forensic accountant's suggestion. I mention it because it was extremely effective. The divorce filing moved quickly. When you arrive with documentation that organized, things tend to. His attorney pushed back on the recording's admissibility. My attorney noted that our state is a one-party consent jurisdiction. His attorney went quiet. The hidden account, the one with 31 transfers over 14 months, was ruled marital property subject to full disclosure. The equity clause in the renovation loan was flagged as potentially coercive and is still under review at the time I'm telling you this. The woman from the lobby, I eventually learned they'd been seeing each other for almost 2 years. She had apparently believed he was already separated. When she found out he wasn't, she stopped returning his calls. I know this because Diane told me. Diane, his mother, who called me 3 days after I sent her the relevant documentation and simply said, "I am so sorry, Rachel. I should have told you what I suspected a long time ago." I didn't ask her what she had suspected. I don't think I needed to. I still think about the woman in my lobby. The one with the silver hair and the cold fingers and the absolute certainty in her voice. I have asked the property manager 3 times if he knows who she is. He's shown me the building directory twice. There's no one matching her description on any floor. The lobby camera footage from that evening, when my attorney requested it as part of compiling the full timeline, shows me dropping my keys near the elevator. It shows me picking them up. It does not show anyone else in the lobby at that moment. I don't know what to do with that. I am a CPA. I believe in what I can document. I believe in evidence and in provable patterns and in things that have a paper trail. I have explained away a lot of things in my life by applying enough logic to them. I haven't been able to explain her. What I know is this. I was about to walk into my own apartment and find my husband there with someone else, and I would have walked in without recording anything, without being prepared, without the presence of mind I had standing in that utility closet in the dark, with my phone pressed against the wall. I would have confronted him emotionally. He would have managed me. He was very good at managing me when I was emotional. He had been doing it for years. She gave me 11 minutes in a parking garage. 11 minutes to go from blindsided to prepared. I don't know if that was instinct or something else. I don't know if it matters. I listened. That part I know for certain. And whatever comes next, the legal resolution, the rebuilt accounts, the apartment I'm keeping because I painted that kitchen myself on a rainy Saturday and I'm not leaving it. I walked into it with my eyes open. Because of 11 minutes and a woman I cannot find in any building directory. Because I didn't go inside.